Imagine the year is 1914. The world is engulfed in the Great War, a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality. Millions of young men are huddled in muddy, freezing trenches stretching across Europe, caught in a deadly stalemate. Day after day, the air is filled with the roar of artillery and the crack of machine guns. This is the grim reality of World War I, a relentless meat grinder where hope seems to be the first casualty. But then, on one of the coldest nights of the year, something truly extraordinary happened. Something so unbelievable it sounds like a fairy tale. This is the story of the Christmas truce, a moment when enemy soldiers laid down their weapons to share a brief, shining moment of peace and humanity. The Western Front, Christmas Eve, 1914. The fighting had been raging for 5 months straight. The initial belief that the war would be over by Christmas had evaporated, replaced by the grim realization that this was a new, horrifying kind of warfare. Soldiers on both sides, from Britain, France, Belgium, and Germany, were exhausted, homesick, and disillusioned. They were living in a hellish landscape of mud, rats, and constant danger. The area between the opposing trenches, known as No Man's Land, was a desolate, cratered wasteland, a symbol of the deadly divide between them. As darkness fell on Christmas Eve, a strange quiet began to settle over certain sectors of the front. The usual symphony of destruction faded into an eerie silence. Then, from the German trenches, something completely unexpected happened. Tiny lights began to appear along the parapets. They were candles and small Christmas trees, placed there by German soldiers. The British troops peered cautiously over their own defenses, wondering if it was some kind of trick. Then, a sound drifted across the frozen ground. It wasn't the whistle of a shell or the cry of a wounded man. It was singing. The German soldiers were singing Christmas carols, their voices carrying across No Man's Land. They sang Still Nacht, or Silent Night, a carol that was familiar to soldiers on both sides. After a moment of stunned silence, the British troops responded. A lone voice might start, then others would join in, singing carols of their own, like the First Noel. For a short while, the battlefield transformed into a strange, international choir, as harmonies in English and German mingled in the cold night air. This musical exchange was just the beginning. Emboldened by the peaceful atmosphere, soldiers started shouting Christmas greetings to each other across the divide. "Merry Christmas, Tommy," a German soldier might yell. "Merry Christmas, Fritz," a British soldier would reply. In some places, signs were held up. One German sign reportedly read, "You know fight, we know fight." This tentative communication was a massive risk. Officially, fraternization with the enemy was strictly forbidden and punishable by death. But on this extraordinary night, the shared spirit of Christmas and the common misery of trench life proved stronger than military orders. Slowly, cautiously, 1 or 2 soldiers from each side climbed out of their trenches, unarmed, and began to walk into the treacherous expanse of No Man's Land. What happened next is one of the most touching and surreal moments in military history. Men who had been trying to kill each other just hours before were now meeting in the middle of the battlefield, shaking hands. They were just young men, many still in their teens or early 20s, far from home. They saw in each other not a faceless enemy, but a fellow human being trapped in the same horrific situation. They spoke to each other in broken English and German, using gestures when words failed. They showed each other pictures of their families, wives, and children back home. The pocket-sized photos were a powerful reminder of the lives they had left behind and the shared humanity that connected them. This incredible meeting soon blossomed into an exchange of gifts. The soldiers shared whatever meager comforts they had. Germans offered cigars, schnapps, and sausages. The British shared their rum, tobacco, and tins of bully beef and McConaughey's stew, a much-maligned ration that became a point of shared amusement. They exchanged personal items as souvenirs, buttons cut from their uniforms, caps, and belt buckles. These small tokens became cherished mementos of a day when the war stopped. It was a spontaneous, grassroots ceasefire organized not by generals and politicians, but by the very soldiers who were supposed to be fighting. One of the most famous activities that took place during the truce was football. In several sectors along the front, impromptu games were organized. Using bundled-up coats for goalposts and a tin can or a makeshift ball, soldiers from opposing armies played football together in no man's land. Imagine the scene: a muddy, shell-pocked field, with men in German gray and British khaki uniforms, laughing and chasing a ball, their rifles left behind in the trenches. For a few hours, they were not soldiers, but just young men enjoying a game, the war completely forgotten. The truce wasn't just about fun and games. It also served a practical and somber purpose. It provided a much-needed opportunity for both sides to recover their dead who had been left in no man's land for weeks or even months. With mutual respect, they helped each other carry the bodies of their fallen comrades back to their own lines for a proper burial. Joint burial services were held, with soldiers from both armies standing side by side, heads bowed, paying their respects to the dead, regardless of their nationality. They read psalms and prayed together, a poignant scene of shared grief that transcended the conflict. This act of dignity and respect for the dead was perhaps the most profound expression of their shared humanity. It showed that even in the midst of war, their sense of decency had not been completely extinguished. However, this magical moment of peace was not destined to last. News of the widespread fraternization quickly reached the high commands on both sides, and they were furious. Generals saw the truce as a dangerous breakdown of military discipline. They feared that if soldiers became friendly with the enemy, their will to fight would be eroded. How can you order a man to kill someone he just shared a drink with and played football against? Orders were immediately issued, forbidding any further contact with the enemy. The message was clear: the war must go on. Officers were sent to the front lines to enforce the orders and ensure that the fighting resumed. In some areas, the truce ended as gently as it began, with soldiers wishing each other well and returning to their trenches. In others, the end was more abrupt. Reluctant soldiers were ordered to fire their weapons, often aiming high above the enemy's heads to avoid hitting the men they had just befriended. The familiar sounds of war slowly returned, and the brief window of peace slammed shut. By New Year's Day 1915, the fighting was back to its full, horrific intensity along most of the front. The Christmas truce of 1914 was a one-time event. The military leadership made sure it would never happen again. The war became even more brutal in the following years with the introduction of poison gas, massive artillery bombardments, and battles like the Somme and Verdun, which resulted in millions of casualties. The kind of innocence and novelty that allowed for the 1914 truce was gone forever. For a long time, the story of the Christmas truce was suppressed by the authorities and largely forgotten by the public. It didn't fit the official narrative of a heroic war against a barbaric enemy. It was an inconvenient truth. However, the soldiers who experienced it never forgot. Their letters home, filled with wonder and disbelief, and their personal diaries, provide the most powerful testimony to this incredible event. Today, the Christmas truce is remembered and celebrated as a powerful symbol of peace and humanity. It's a testament to the idea that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can shine through. It reminds us that the lines drawn on a map and the uniforms worn by soldiers cannot always extinguish the common bonds that connect us all. The story of those brave men who chose peace, even for a day, continues to inspire people around the world. It serves as a poignant reminder that war is fought not by monsters, but by ordinary people who would rather be at home with their families. The strange, beautiful Christmas truce of 1914 is a beacon of hope, a story that tells us that peace is always possible, if only we have the courage to choose it. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as moving as we did, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories from history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.